Welcome to Getting Made. Today I am sitting down with Phedon Papamichael. Phedon is an amazing cinematographer and director and an alumnus of the Roger Corman Farm, the company that produced the most influential filmmakers in the last 40 years. He has been a part of incredible films including 3:10 to Yuma, Sideways, Walk the Line, and of course Ford versus Ferrari, a film that we reference all the time. Real quick, a thank you to this episode's sponsors, Nature's Wildberry. Turn sour sweet. If you've got a sweet tooth and you're interested in maintaining a healthy lifestyle, take a look at Nature's Wildberry. You can find them on socials or search for their Shark Tank episode or visit natureswildberry.com. Jaybird Coffee. If you love coffee, pick up some delicious chocolate truffle coffee at jaybirdcoffee.com. Airwolf Drones. Be it commercials, feature films, or live broadcast, Airwolf Drones has you covered from the air. Check out airwolfdrones.com. And now, a conversation with Phedon Papamichael.
Wally and I go way back.
Yes.
So does Janusz and Fiore. And because when I first came to LA, I was I didn't go to film school. I was just kind of hanging out, and I was living in Silver Lake, Los Feliz, Echo Park. So all the A5 people were staying there, and we'd meet at the Vista. There was a cafe next to the Onyx.
Yeah.
The Onyx eventually moved to where Figaro is now. And then, so everyone hung out, and, so that's how I met him. And then one of those people got a job at Roger Corman directing. And so I started there, like second unit. We did a movie called Deadly Dreams. And, since I didn't really know much about how to do anything, I was fast. I didn't know how to use lights. I came from still photography and fine arts, and I never went through the ranks in terms of like a gaffer. And I mean, I had done one job as a gaffer in a low budget feature, and I had to look up everything the night before in the Mold Richardson catalog. Literally, I didn't know what a Baby, Junior, Tweenie, Inky, which a lot of people probably don't know anymore. But just this tungsten packages, Dino lights, but so we were fast, so we kept getting hired there.
Yeah.
Because that was the main criterion, like get the day done.
Yeah.
And so when I got my first unit feature, it was called it was called Dance of the Damned. It was a love story between a vampire and stripper, because at the time Roger Corman had a strip club set up, whatever, on Main Street in Venice. It was his lumberyard, and he had like a stage, and it was kind of like his mini studio, and whatever set he had up, it alternated between a spaceship, a castle, and a strip club. So if you knew as a young filmmaker, as a young director, what set he had up, and you came and pitched him a story where he could utilize the set that he had up, you had pretty good chances of getting the movie. So Katche, the director, who actually we just had a screening of Poison Ivy, I started with her, and I was assigned this crew, which was AFI students, and it was Janusz Kaminski was my gaffer, Wally Pfister was somehow also on the crew, camera, and then Mauro Fiore was my key grip, dolly grip, and that's how we formed that group, and we stayed together. We're talking like 38 years.
Yeah.
Now, this was 89, I think, or 88, and we could do whatever we wanted as long as we got. It was 15-day features. Yeah. 3 5-day weeks.
You were just churning them out.
Yeah. And we did like 60. I remember on Strip to Kill 2, we averaged probably 65 setups a day over that week.
Did you guys sleep?
Yeah, not much. I mean, plus we had to drive all the way back.
Yeah.
It was like we had shitty cars, shitty apartments.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall, because that, to me, is like, I would like to know what it was like to be there. Did you feel like, once you were there, did you feel like the uncertainty of the future was dampened, or did you just feel it was like, you didn't know that you felt like this was going to be the people that basically molded cinema for the next 30
Yeah, I
years?
mean, we really didn't think
No.
about security. Is the future? Is this job stable?
Immediacy, yeah.
I mean, we were just excited to be shooting. I mean,
Yeah.
I really, you know, and as I later always said, I mean, I would be doing this stuff for free, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so just getting paid for it was just like an extra bonus, you
Yeah.
know. And then eventually getting paid a lot and more, it was just amazing. And, you know, there's a lot of luck involved. It was a good period in Hollywood. I mean, I'm talking to people all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
My son is 18. He's got the bug. He wants to be a cinematographer. I mean, he's shooting and
Mm-hmm.
he has a Sony FX6 and
Mm-hmm.
bought some anamorphics from China, and he's operating for me and doing some second unit.
Amazing.
Now we're looking and thinking about getting him into union or maybe not, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I tell him, I don't know, you know, I don't know where
Mm-hmm.
what the future is. Like, you know, I mean, we really rode that beautiful wave where we could do movies for adults, dramas, you know, sort of in the mid range, let's say, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, that had good directors and good writing, um, you know, like Sideways, Pursuit of Happiness. I mean, this Phenomenon, Patch Adams, you know, commercial Hollywood
Yeah.
movies, but, you know, they had a certain standard of, you know, they were not superheroes. And
No.
anyway, so I
No, there's a
tell,
real
but
human
we
stories.
didn't
Yeah.
really, yeah, like we were not scared. And, you know, we also, I mean, there's a reason all of us are divorced, some of us multiple times, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, they go, you're going, you know, 6 months to Africa. Like we didn't consider anything, you know, and I know
Yeah.
young film students today or people starting, you know, they're trying to figure out, you know, how do I balance my personal life? How do I deal with family?
Yeah.
You know, the one advice I would give people is keep your overhead low. You know, I had
Absolutely.
super cheap rent.
Absolutely.
I drove a shitty old car, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, I could have had nicer, but I was like, I want the freedom to be able to choose, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's important what choices you make, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and which way you steer your career, you know. Because also, like, if you become good at a certain thing that's maybe not something you're so interested in,
Mm-hmm.
you will get sort of pigeonholed into
Right.
that. Let's say you're doing, you know, commercials, and then
Yeah.
it's hard to transition into narrative, or you're doing television and then you're successful. Like, I have some friends who were my camera PAs interns, and they're really talented, and you know, and they, not that it's a bad thing shooting a Netflix series, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, she just Terry Siegel, AAC, just got an Emmy nomination, you know, but she was my camera intern on Sideways, and I
Which
know
is
she wants to do features,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and independent features, and you know, but it's hard to, you know, transition out of things sometimes. Same like, I mean, yeah. So, but there's not a lot of opportunities for studio movies anymore, and really, so really, your best bet is to find a director, find your team of filmmakers,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and people who are wanting to do the same kind of stories and have the same interests of films that you do, because a lot of it is just about taste, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not this is better than that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some movies want to do really stylized horror movies. Others want to do Bergman style movies, or you
Mm-hmm.
know, Buñuel or absurd comedies or dark comedies. You know, which I prefer. You know, but so find your storytellers, create your, you know, really as a cinematographer, you know, find your directors,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, then you just need to be lucky. It only takes one movie.
Yeah.
You know, Wally Pfister operated a decade for me, and also shooting simultaneously
Mm-hmm.
probably 20, not even B movies, like C movies,
Yeah.
you know. And one of them was Memento.
Yes. Yeah.
And, you know, and I remember going to the screening and Chris Nolan and Wally like inviting me and showing me the thing. And I go, this is really good. And he goes, yeah, we're still looking for a distribution or a
Yeah.
sale, you know. I go, it's really good.
Yeah.
I
And
think
then
you'll be fine. It just took one movie. So
when you look at
but there's no formula, there's no rule how long something takes, how long. People ask me all the time, like Europeans, how do I go to America? How do I go? I can't really give you. There's no
right.
set way to do it. I mean, if you know a director, I mean, better often for Europeans is to do something in their
Sure.
territory, and then hopefully it gets like Yorgos Lanthimos, the Dogtooth, it's submitted for a foreign,
Yeah.
for international Academy Awards, it gets nominated, and then, he's off and rolling. But to come here and really start from scratch, I mean, and I also can't tell people, I can't discourage them, because everyone I know did it this way and
Sure.
everyone made it. So I think
Yeah.
if you have talent and you are determined and patient and you keep your overhead low so you can cruise, but it can take 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
But eventually I think you'll people get lucky,
Yeah.
and they have to recognize when they get lucky, and then they have to be ready for it. I mean, Janusz certainly got lucky when Steven Spielberg saw Wildfire, a Lifetime special thing he did for Diane Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
Steven saw it on his TV and go, "Oh, young Polish cinematographer, Alan Davio. I'm going to do this low budget movie in Poland. I don't know if Alan, maybe not the right guy for this." And, I mean, we all knew, like, that's it. He's doing a black and white Holocaust movie with Steven Spielberg.
Right.
He's probably going to win the Oscar,
Yeah.
But he was ready for it.
Yeah.
I mean, was it lucky that Steven saw that and called him and but he performed, he did it.
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think about how the Battle of Algiers, how brutal that film is, and I think about I hope Giannis watched that before he made.
Yeah, I'm sure he's seen. I mean, Janusz, yeah, is very film knowledgeable. And
So you've been bringing a lot of attention to European talent yourself, though, because you'll go over there, and just by you being there, you're able to shine a light on a lot of people over there. You're making films over there sometimes,
I
right?
do, I mean, I've spent lots of years in the country of Georgia, which is north of Armenia and south of Russia. And I went there in '99, and I made a movie that went to Cannes and also won some awards here. Nana Georgiadze, a movie called 27 Missing Kisses. So I was introduced sort of to that Eastern European. I have a lot of Serbian friends. Let's call them Yugoslavs, because they were, back then. And I was a big fan of Emir Kusturica films like Time of the Gypsies and When Father Was Away on a Business Trip. So I was always very involved sort of in Balkan cinema, Romania, and we shoot a lot in Bulgaria, Romania.
Yeah.
I still go there, I do a lot of commercials there.
Yeah.
But Georgia, yeah, and then eventually, decades later, I did another small movie for Levan Kubiashvili called Brighton Fourth. That it's about illegal Georgian immigrants, and that whole little scene down in Brighton Beach. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's kind of a, Russian little Moscow, I call it sometimes, and but it's very satisfying because it's a different process than doing a big Hollywood movie.
Yes.
I have very small crew, very few lights, shoot everything on location, and in many ways it's more creative and more liberating, and I feel more freedom. I'm not schlepping this big ball and chain on, like, base camp and this and actors and big movie stars, and they're quite successful.
Yes.
There are lots of great films. Not a lot of them make it to the States, and it's hard to see, but there's some I mean, Hulu and Mubi. I mean, there's some things you can subscribe to.
Movie's great.
Movie's
That's
great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, you can see a lot of films there, and a lot of great young talent and great cinematographers, great directors, great actors. Lots of Poland makes a lot of amazing talent. Obviously, I go Camarage every year. That's the film festival
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Poland. I've been going since 2000 and always interested in seeing films there and meeting young cinematographers. And yeah, so it's great. I mean, Brighton Fourth won the Tribeca Film Festival for Best Foreign Film, Best Actor, uh, Best Film, Best Actor, and Best Screenplay. I think. I mean, they do get attention, you know.
Yes.
Then again, still a lot of people don't see it. Still a lot of people don't know much, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I'm always surprised when I talk to film students, like they haven't seen a Truffaut film.
Right. Right. Right.
They haven't. Maybe they've seen Breathless of Godard, you know,
Right.
but 400 Blows, or I mean, I'm not talking very obscure. I'm not talking like
These are the
some weird
essentials. Yeah.
Pasolini
Yeah.
movie or some, but they should watch Kurosawa films. They should watch Louis Buñuel.
I
I
gotta
mean, my
ask
my
you.
son is obsessed with Kurosawa,
Yes. Yeah.
and that's really what. And you know what I did? I said, let's log into Criterion.
Mm-hmm.
I d- I said, why don't we watch Yojimbo? Because I remember
Mm-hmm.
it had a summary fight. I remember somebody's arm being severed off. So I
Yes.
go, he was only like 12 or 13.
He'll
I
love
go,
this.
he'll probably like it. I'm watching it with him, and he's very focused. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's not the way I remember it. It's really slow, and it's like a Shakespearean play. It's like
Totally.
these two families, and Yojimbo, I mean,
Yeah.
Toshiro Mifune is just
Yes.
very silent and just eating, slurping his soup and listening, and then eventually he goes out and,
Right. Yeah.
and then I go, he's not gonna like it, plus it's really long, and all he said is, that was a really good movie, and he left.
Yeah.
He comes to me 2 weeks later, he goes, Papi, can you log into Criterion? I want to watch it again.
Wow.
So, I knew, okay, this
Yeah.
guy has, it's not like everyone's saying new generation, they have short attention span. They're
Mm-hmm.
used to 2 3 minute TikTok and whatever,
Yeah.
Instagram contents. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not true. Like these things work.
Oh, for
When they
sure.
were really young, I showed them Doctor Strangelove.
Mm-hmm.
I would always say, we're going to watch this movie. There's no doing anything else.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, I mean, my kids didn't have phones, devices till 14 or 15, kind of late. And, if you need to go to the bathroom, we'll pause it,
Yeah.
you got to, and then these movies work.
Mm-hmm.
They work on this generation also.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that people don't point them out to them, don't steer them that way, don't make them watch them. But if they do watch them,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm also showing him Godfather 1 and 2
Yeah.
as masterpieces,
Yeah.
Lawrence of Arabia is long, but it's amazing, people can still take in stories like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, it can sit with you for weeks and weeks and
Oh,
weeks.
yeah.
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 Yeah. I try to document, extensively like what I'm going through, and I'll typically grab a director or cinematographer and I'll watch their entire filmography before I switch over to the next thing. I'll try to do that as best as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But it is great. That's kind of how I communicate with my pilot partner, is that I'll just speak in film terms. I'll be like, that scene from this movie. All
Yeah.
right, that's what we got to get now. If we're shooting sort of like on the spot, can't like, pre-plan it, right?
Right.
So it's nice to have that vocabulary and to be
Yeah.
able to.
And Shot Deck, I just started diving into a little bit. I
Yeah,
mean, I
it's
know
great.
Larry Shedd for many years, and
He's great.
I know I have. Yeah, he's done some podcasts with me and stuff. He's definitely a great person to talk cinema with. But I was telling him I'm gonna go into Shot Deck, and because I'm preparing, sort of a turn of a century samurai movie that's set in the mountains in northern Japan. It's something we're developing and writing. And I'm like, go through all the, images, like look at all the Tarkovsky films, look at all
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Kurosawa films, look at all, yeah. Anyway, it's there's a lot of sources and tools out there. You
Yeah.
just have to dive into it, and you know,
It's
um,
wild how, like, obviously Tarkovsky is a little bit of a slow burn, but then, you'll get to the end where they're melding that bell, like they're
Yeah,
making
yeah.
that bell, and it's
Andrei
like,
Rublev. Yeah.
yeah, everything feels like it's on the line,
Yeah.
because you've spent. I remember when I first saw Deer Hunter, and I was like, why are we watching this wedding
Yeah.
scene for like 35 minutes? And then
Well, it's the same in Godfather 1. It starts with
the marriage, yeah, the wedding,
is
yeah,
it a wedding in the
yeah,
beginning? And it's like probably 30 or 40-minute sequence. And it's really nothing happening. I mean, you cut inside to Brando, meeting people, but you're in meeting Fredo, every aunt, every sister.
Yeah.
And the FBI outside photographing. I mean, you get full setup, and then once the story takes off,
Now you're
you're tracking these people.
Right.
They've been introduced to you, and then you can really move and pace and not have exposition scenes, and it really works. But I don't know what studio would let you start a movie and start like that for like a 40-minute sequence of really people just at a wedding.
Well, you know how he got away
plot.
with it. You know how Coppola got away with it? Because he was getting harassed all the time for his cuts of the dailies for The Godfather. So he shot that sequence with the horse head and the bed, and he sent that back to the studio. And they're like, "Oh, we get the message. We get it."
All right.
Yeah. So he had to mob up.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, in order to get his way.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's wild to me. I rewatched Sideways because I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
It cracked me up because I have an actor friend who's like identical to that character, right? So
I'm Thomas Hayden or to Paul Giamatti.
No, the taller one.
Thomas Hayden, sure.
Yes, and I'm the Paul Giamatti character for sure.
Yeah.
The neurotic.
No, that's the thing with that movie. Like everybody can identify with sometimes with Thomas Hayden, sure, sometimes with Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
That's one of those scripts that doesn't read so great on page, but it was really. With that cast and the combo, it was just I watched it many times. It just had its 20th anniversary. I watched the new film print. I mean, it's to me it's one of the best.
It's
ever.
So good, and it's like such a great road
like
trip.
fine wine. It just gets better and better and better. There's a few movies like that like I mean, Big Lebowski also. When I first watched it, I go, it's not so great like the other Coen Brothers movies, but it's one of these things you can just take it in over and over. So
quotable. You can just quote it for days. Actually, Jason and I, we quote that movie all the time. The shot that from Sideways that stuck out to me the most is just so powerful is when he walks out of the bathroom. He's so drunk, and he walks out of the bathroom, and he's going to go make his move. He's going to go kiss the girl.
Oh,
and it's just like, you just see him swing, and like, it feels like a miss, and you're just like, ah. But it's such a powerful shot because you're in the bathroom with him. He walks out. He goes this way. And we see the living room and we see the kitchen where she's at.
Yeah.
And he walks in there, takes his swing, and he's just like, oh.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, there's a scene earlier where she puts her hand on his, and he's...
Yeah, he doesn't know how to handle it.
And he pulls it back, and they're talking about why he loves wine. And But, I mean, there's so many great details in it.
So many. Speaking of road trip movies,
I
wanted to talk about... when you teamed up with Wim Wenders.
Yeah.
Like when did you get the call for that? What was that like? You just like woke up one day, got a voicemail, or what's that like?
Well, I grew up super heavily influenced because, as I told you, I grew up in Munich. You know, I was into German New Wave, Fassbinder and Herzog, and but of course, because Wim was more visual, and then Robbie Miller is like my god, my hero. I mean, I all my lighting, if there was any influence, actually before I started Corman, I interviewed with Robbie Miller on Barfly. He was here doing a Barbara Schroeder movie with Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway, and I got to interview. I totally bluffed my way in somehow for first AC. Good thing he didn't hire me because he also would shoot size super speeds wide open, and I would have gotten fired. But I did steal lighting from him because he was lighting with fluorescent tubes. Frieder, who later founded Kinoflow, this is pre-Kino Floor, was his gaffer, and they were using tubes. And I went back to set later, and Janusz, and told my gaffer Janusz, like, we gotta light with these tubes, and uncorrected, and the green space. I was a big influence. So when I met Deepak Nair, his producer here in town, who had worked with him on the prior movie, I forget the title now. He said, Robbie Miller, I'm having a hard time bringing Robbie Miller into the country because he needed like special work permit and stuff like that. And also, Robbie and Wim had a little bit of a fallout, I think until the end of this, till the end of the Earth. What is it called? The really long movie. Anyway, so I don't think it was super honestly presented to me. I think Deepak really didn't want to bring Robbie, and he introduced me to them in a social setting, and of course, I know everything about it. We kind of clicked right away. Yeah. And then we went to Argentina and shot a commercial, and we were walking around La Boca, which is the area around the stadium, and taking stills, and a very similar sense of composition and everything. I was very influenced sort of by American Friend and Paris, Texas, all that. Like, it's really my language, photographically, and also lighting wise, just natural and sources. And anyway, then it was just an incredible.
So you guys met.
Yeah, and then he offered me the movie, and then I actually had also met on American Beauty, but I'm like, yeah, it's okay script, but which eventually Conrad Hall won the Oscar for. There's Sam Mendes, and then some director from London, or Wim Wenders with Mel Gibson and Mila Jovovich, and so I chose that, and then of course American Beauty became a huge thing, and nobody saw $1 Million Hotel. It's huge in Poland. It did really well at Camerimage. It's kind of a cult movie, and it has been remastered. It's kind of grown on me also, but I still think it's probably some of my best work. But I remember, okay, well, now I'm working with them. I'm going to learn a lot, and we're driving to set. It's like 3 days before the shoot, and the set is all the Rosalind Hotel, the $1 Million Hotel on Spring and Fifth, downtown LA. And he's like, I really don't know how to shoot this movie yet. I go, and me telling him now, don't worry, I think the building will tell us how to shoot it. And that's how it was.
Yeah.
Like, we never discussed, obviously, no storyboards, no shot list, just the actors in the hotel, the hallways with rooms and everything, the textures, and it really was obvious how it should be shot. And then at some point, I said to his wife, Donata Wenders, who was the still photographer, I go, it's weird, like, then, like, we never discuss, he doesn't never look through the lens.
He's just trusting you entirely.
And no, I'm like, I was expecting a bit more, direction, and he goes, well, he's typically not like that.
Yeah.
She said. But and I kind of knew he likes what I'm doing. Well, because he never said it. She goes, no, it's because you're fucking great, and like he likes everything you're doing. And I go, oh, that's cool, And also I know he likes what I'm doing because I like it, and it's kind of very much his language,
For sure.
In general, I always want my style to be, really what the director is imagining, and I think that's what a good cinematographer can do, whether the director can express it technically or not. When I worked with Georgian director, we never talked about shots. I would see her dress the table, so I go, oh, I guess she wants to shoot this direction, and she'd be adjusting the curtains. I guess we're shooting here. And then, there were no rehearsals. I would just lay a diagonal track and I go, can we just do a take?
Yeah.
Basically for me to see what's happening.
Yeah.
And, was kind of had a little bit of range to just cover it. And then I go, okay, now I get it. Okay, well, this actor, he's not in this script. He's not in the pages today. Oh, but he just came by today. I think we should use him, I go, okay, well, if you want him in the scene, he's got to sit over here, not there. I can't really hold him there.
Yeah.
But it's nice, filming like that.
Yeah. Just throwing you a curveball.
Yeah, and that's where I really enjoy that. I mean, and I really don't like, there was a time span where I was doing, very commercial. I kind of had some romantic comedies that were successful, so I kept getting those because we did While You Were Sleeping with Sandra Bullock, and then I did America's Sweethearts, and shortly after I got out, and I did $1 Million Hotel and I did Moonlight Mile. With Dustin Hoffman, Susan Sarandon, Jake Gyllenhaal, he was like 19, and Ellen Pompey, and I was like, I made a conscious decision. I gotta kind of like, that's not really the direct. I mean, I was doing great. I was happy. I was like 30, whatever, mid to early 30s, and making good.
That's wild.
Studio pay, but I'm like, that's not really where I came to Hollywood. Like, I don't really want to. So I made, and you have to take a little bit of pay cut, and you have to sort of steer your direction. That's what I was saying earlier. Pick the directors, and because you're only as good as the director. I mean, I can't take a Joe Roth movie like America's Sweethearts and make it a visual masterpiece. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. I got a dear writer friend who, he writes for like a very known director, but it's like action stuff, and he's like, even I can't save this. He's like, there's nothing I can do about this.
Yeah. I mean, also, you have to get lucky. Like, your good work has to be on a good movie. I've had really, I mean, they're really beautiful movies, but the movie is not so good. Really, that nobody cares.
Yeah.
That it looks good.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, bless you. I wanted to ask you about when you were chatting with them, because you had mentioned Paris, Texas, and I know that you basically started early on with 8mm, and I always felt like Paris, Texas had the most important 8mm montage, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful family stuff. Yeah.
Did you get to talk to him about that?
No.
Really? You didn't tell him anything about your 8mm work?
Who, Robbie or Vim?
No, them.
Oh no, but back then everyone started with 8mm. There was nothing else.
Okay.
Like my generation, if you wanted to shoot, I mean, I did fall in love with 8mm. A friend of mine had one. We were at ski camp, and I looked around and because I wanted to actually be an industrial designer. I was very good in design, and but then when I looked through this camera and walked around, I go, there's something happened, a connection in my brain, like the frame and the moving frame. Then I, shot Super 8 for a couple of years. And I edited them and had a cassette player trying to sync the music and, project them in school. I go, this is all a bit too amateurish, So that's why I switched to still photography. I bought like a Nikon F2, and I had lenses, and, and then I could really like produce at a high quality in images. I would print myself in, Ilford paper, and anyway. But the Super 8, I still have it, and I still project it. I just bought a new little Super 8 projector. Actually, Patrick Longway, my second UDP on Indiana Jones, gifted me one, and he's obsessed. He has a lot of Super 8. But awesome. No, I didn't talk to them about it.
Really? I think you're very laid back, dude.
No, I didn't think of,
really?
But to us, it wasn't that special seeing Super 8 footage.
No, I know that.
I mean, I even shot, later on, we shot Super 8 music videos, and people are doing it again now. And, then all my first 5 years of shooting, it was all Eclair MPR, this old great camera, documentary, handheld camera. We shot everything 16mm film. I mean, that's was our tool. And then all the Corman movies were BL2. It was a Arri with a lens blimp, you know, and yeah.
Have you been to the Kodak house down the street?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so a couple blocks down from here, there's this Kodak house, and that's where they sell some stock out of there, and
Oh,
it's
really?
amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody else mentioned it to me.
you should definitely go. There's actually an event tomorrow. They have like coffees on Fridays. So if you ever want to stop in, they would freak out. They would be like, "Whoa!" but but they do events, and it's crazy. I met so many wonderful people there because you can only fit like 30 people in the room.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So you're just like right there with.
And what do they do there?
They do like Q&As, and
Oh,
they
okay.
and they'll do like
Yeah.
basically just like coffee hangs, and there's a huge shift towards film now.
No, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we just did the Academy. They have a series now. I don't know what it's called. Frills and anyway, it's old thrillers. Anyway, we showed Poison Ivy, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a 35 millimeter print. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I've spent so much time now on perfecting shooting digital and making it look like
Yeah.
film on Complete Unknown with, you know, shooting with vintage lenses, shooting with Sony at 12,800 ASA,
Mm-hmm.
doing a analog intermediate, like filming out, lasering out to a negative 52 or 3, scanning back in. And I really feel like I was just talking to Darius Kanji, and he was convinced like that was on film,
Yeah,
you
for
know. So,
sure.
I mean, I go, no, this is good. I think this is the best of both worlds. I can take advantage of. People go, well, if you're doing all this just to make it look like film, why don't you just shoot the film? I go, because, you know, then I have to light a lot more, and I want it to be on the streets at night and not have condors and not big lighting setups. And, you know, I can
Yeah.
shoot 12,800, which I can't do on film because $1 million hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was 800 stock. I pushed it to 1,000, like a stop, a half a stop. And, but then going and seeing my early work,
Mm-hmm.
because I was probably 29 or at the time when I shot Poison Ivy, and how gutsy I was, and how the limited latitude and the contrast and how deep the blacks were, and it was Drew Barrymore in this half light, and you know, I was also influenced by Vittorio Storaro, and we had
Of course.
Dinos and this and that
Yeah, yeah.
and everything. I go, man, we were gutsy, and it was really beautiful, this film thing. Maybe
Yeah.
I should shoot on film again.
You should.
I mean, I never talk a director out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
If somebody wants to do it, I mean, I've shot 40 movies on film and
Yeah.
20 digital. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like I can't do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I feel like you are in a very unique position right now where you've got a huge range of a catalog.
mm-hmm.
And now, because people are keeping their overhead low, very much like you were talking about, they're doing like Blumhouse is doing like $21 million movies or whatever it is, but you could get a percentage of it as a producer because when you move, your entire crew moves with you. So you could go and shoot another horror film,
Right.
on film if you wanted to for under $1 million, and it would make so much money right now because it's just timing. Like that's what people
Yeah.
are looking for right now. It's just wild how like fortunate windows come and go. It's like
Yeah.
just waves.
But not everyone can do it. I mean, I directed 6 movies. I've done a horror movie, and you know, it's not like everything, like, not everyone can go out and do, you know, Paranormal Activity or Blair Witch, or,
No,
you
no.
know, it's
But
not,
like
I
From
mean,
Within
you
is
would.
it like impacted a whole group of
Which?
people. From Within?
Oh, you're talking about From
Yeah.
Within.
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't really impact that many people.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Really? See,
Yeah.
I know nothing about that
Oh
world.
my gosh. If you go on Reddit,
No fucking way.
yeah, if you go on Reddit, you'll see how many like if you look at the movie Us from Jordan Peele, or if you
Yeah.
look at It Follows, like on Reddit, everybody's crediting From Within
No.
as yeah. So that's what I'm saying is like you're in a very unique position where you could just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna."
Oh, I just know that we didn't make any money out of it.
I know, but it was a different time period, different window,
Oh, I see.
totally different window. I'm just saying what I'm seeing right now.
Wow, that's good. Well, that's
And
good to know.
yeah,
I mean, I'm always surprised people, they go, I mean, sure, I get Cool Runnings. Like, what? Cool Runnings? I can't, But like, people come up to me and go, dude, Prayer of the Roller Boys, Day of the Rope. That's like
Yes, yeah,
Corey Haim and like
yeah,
a fascist gang in Venice on
right,
rollerblades and these
yeah,
big coats. And
yeah,
but they don't watch Fellini movies, but somehow they know, like, I'm like the PAs on set, like, or Gen Z guys. They come up in London. You know what movie I love of yours? Pray of the Roller Boys.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, how the hell did you see that?
yeah.
Or Bywdon with Pauly Shore, or I can't believe, like, where did they find that stuff?
That's hilarious. I do want to talk to you about Cool Runnings,
Yeah.
because that's how I was introduced to your work when I was a child. And that movie, I must have watched 1,000 times. I definitely burnt out the VHS for sure, for sure. And when I was in college, I was with my little theater group, and we're all talking about our favorite comedians. And somebody brought up John Candy, and I was like, John Candy is one of my.
He's the greatest.
I want to hear a story from you if you got one.
I always forget when people ask me. I go Paul Giamatti, I love, and Matt Damon, I love, and Christian Bale, I love, but I always should remember John Candy because, God, man, the nicest, most amazing, beautiful soul. I mean, this was almost his last movie, the Wagons West or something, but he was heavy. He had the Argonauts, the football team in Toronto that he was going. He had these guys and then diet that like helping him and train. But he would just take his time, come to set, and he would get exhausted and then stop and talk to everyone. But just such a lovely man and so funny and I don't know. I mean, there's not really one particular story except I mean it was just so beautiful to be around him on set and inspiring to just see his whole yeah. I mean, there are a few guys that are great. I really never had a bad experience with anyone. There's two people that I can't mention it.
Sure.
But
So when we were at this, Loyola Marymount and theater group, right? I'm sitting around. We're about to go into rehearsal, and John Candy comes up, and I'm like, oh man, I love John Candy. I loved Cool Runnings, right? I mean, I
yeah,
really watched this movie a million times. And one of my friends is in my class that I completely was oblivious to goes, I'm gonna blow you guys' mind right now. John Candy was my father, and I was like, what? It blew my mind
wow,
because he looks exactly like him,
yeah,
and his last name's
yeah,
Candy. But it was so far removed
right,
from
right,
my
right.
reality that I just didn't even think about
Yeah,
it. And he's the sweetest guy in the world.
yeah,
And he just did a documentary on his dad with Colin Hanks, and it's so good, so good. It's called "I Like Me." So I think Cool Runnings gets a
yeah,
mention in there. So if you want to go
yeah.
back and watch it,
Also, while I was making it, I thought it was my first studio movie, so I was just excited.
yeah.
Um,
How did you get that call? Like how they
well,
find
I
you?
had done the Wild Palms, which was a very high profile Oliver Stone produced ABC miniseries that Bruce Wagner had wrote, and it was really out there. Belushi was in it, and Dana Delaney. I don't know. It was a big show, um, and then John Turteltaub, who had done post Corman, Brad Cravoy, Steve Stapler, Motion Picture Corp of America, was kind of like the grad after Corman. You do like um, maybe a motion picture corp movie. Anyway, which also I directed my first movie, Sketch Artist, with Sean Young, Jeff Fay, and Drew Barrymore, and Wally Pfister was the DP. Sketch Artist I directed from Motion Picture Corporate of America. But anyway, I did a John Turteltaub movie called Driving Me Crazy. It was Dom DeLuise and Thomas Gottschalk, a big German celebrity, and about an East German car inventor brings his Trabi this East German car to LA, and it runs on vegetable oil. And anyway, but John got Cool Runnings, and then he wanted me to do it because, and then I had to be approved by the studio. It's my first studio picture. And luckily the timing was good, and that Wild Palms had come out. It was kind of like a show that was out there and weird, and was going to compete with David Lynch's. What was that?
Twin Peaks. Yeah.
So it was kind of going to be like Oliver Stone's Twin Peaks. Anyway, but they showed the trailers during the Academy Awards. It was it was big enough of a credit where I got approved by the studio. And like I said, a director that also basically was out of the Corman farm. Yeah. And then, that was a big success. But while I was doing it, I was like, this is stupid. And then, I'm at the premiere and I'm like, Jamaica. I'm crying, I'm like, I guess formula works.
Isn't it crazy how in the moment, you could think that you're failing? You can totally think this is going to bomb.
I just thought it's silly, But it totally works. And, and then because that was a success, we went and did While He Was Sleeping. And then Sandra Bullock was her second movie. She had just done Speed. Like, nobody even knew her name. They go, and we're shooting in Chicago, and people go, oh, look, it's that girl from the Bus movie.
Hilarious.
Meaning Speed.
Yeah.
And Bill Pullman. And anyway, and then that was a success. And then he got Phenomena. It was John Travolta. He was just back. He had just done Pulp Fiction. And, so then I was getting into this sort of Hollywood routine for a while. And, I was happy. I mean, I'm young and I'm making pretty good money, And I did Mouse Hunt, which was Gore Verbinski's first movie, the guy who did all the Pirates of the Caribbean, and really interesting filmmaker. Very good visually and, technically very challenging. And, so I've had a very diverse all over the place. And now I just try to make good movies. People go, how do you choose your movies? I go, well, I really just want to work on movies that I would go buy a ticket to see myself, which not many. I mean, I maybe go 5 movies a year where I go to a theater and I go, I want to see this. And I want to pay, and I want to be excited going to the movie theater.
I just went and watched Kiyoshi Kurosawa's The Prisoner and the Samurai.
Oh, yeah.
It's good. It's good. He's great, man. We do have to figure out a way to bring back you and Wally's show. Okay. It has to happen because that's gold.
I know.
That's gold. You guys just yucking it up over movies it's people are going to tune in for that. So definitely do that. Please.
Yeah. I mean, we have this whole thing. We recorded all these things. It's kind of like that. It's Wally and Janusz and I don't know. I forget what it's called even.
You know what I was thinking? And I'll get to your question real fast. But I feel like now, I have a friend who literally spent 2 years making a film, and then he gets a 2-week movie theatrical release window. And I'm just like, that's crazy. So there's no incubation period for a film to catch fire, right? And to go out into the greater collective consciousness. So I'm trying right now with a friend of mine to build a platform where that can take place, where people, almost like when you would go into a books, like a Blockbuster or whatever it is, and you're like, shit, I don't know what to watch. So you go talk to the clerk, and the clerk is like, we should go watch this movie, right? Because it changed my life. And it's completely outside of your algorithmic bubble, right? And then you go watch that movie, and it changes your life. And then you come back the next week, and you're like, well, thanks, Greg. That was amazing. Like, what else you got, That is something that the algorithm can't replicate. It can't replicate the one-on-one human interaction. And so we're trying really hard right now to build something very similar to that, where we would have desks where people, their entire job is to have this interaction with people. And there's a long 1,000-person queue or whatever it is listening to their conversation about their recommendation. And the only rule is, one, the studios can't buy them, can't bribe them. And secondly, they can't ever badmouth a director. They have to say only positive things. But what I do want to have is I want to have a guest desk. So every time a person like you is about to release a movie, you can come into the guest desk and then thousands and thousands of people are going to show up to listen to your recommendations. So that's something that we're cooking up right now, but it gives people like a place where films can have a new resurgence. Like all of a sudden this one film gets mentioned, it hasn't been talked about in 3 years, and all of a sudden it spikes because people are like, shit, I want to watch that. So we're working on something like that. But my question for you is, on Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
I love it too.
Because I chase a lot of cars, I chase a lot of horses, and we're doing a lot of that stuff. So I use Ford versus Ferrari in my mind as like the blueprint, the pinnacle. And we worked with a similar stunt driver named Tony Hunt. So I was wondering, like, what's it like for you working with these precision people? Like, did you feel like there was a moment where you went from, I'm working with anybody, now I'm working with like the top of the line people, and they're making my job easier? Because
yeah, look, I mean, again, with James Mangold, like, that movie had to be pre-vised and shortlisted just to be able to budget and figure out how many cars do we have to actually build, how many, like, have to be on the track at the same time. And but when you have those kind of precision drivers and race car drivers, and you still can kind of wing it, we'd go out there and we'd get the storyboarded sweet spot thing, and then we'd just keep rolling and doing things, and we'd be talking and like cutting front. I mean, I discovered so much of that language of how to shoot cars really by just winging it, often like on the reset. And like that whole scene where he crashes and dies in the end, the sun was going down, was out at the Honda test track, and we had one run at it. Like we gotta go. We started cracking. We got 10 minutes, and we had one camera low on Christian Bale, and that was getting to around at the same time we're doing one car-to-car take with literally one circle, and we're like, okay, now you're gonna cut in and pull in front of the camera, and then we're gonna track you, and then we go, okay, and now pull away, and I mean, it's like all winging it. And then Robert Nagel, who's a guy, the stunt coordinator, I just directed a Cadillac campaign, and I went back to Aquadolce where we had built all the pits and stuff, and I brought all the same guys back. Kind of all the same tools. Alan Padelford, the precision driver, these guys are incredible, and he has the elevator rig. It's not like an arm, because the G-forces with an arm, a traditional Russian arm, is too much. So you have sort of this vertical elevator rig, and and I just winged all the Cadillac stuff too. I mean, that's the language they wanted, and it's just like, it was fun just to reproduce it on in the same light on the same track. But yeah, it's amazing. I mean, this like having that level, to your question, like having that level of precision in drivers, and then you can be very creative with it. I mean, of course, safety first and all that, but we're doing some stuff where we're inches away going around corners, and we only lost one matte box once, I think. But that's one of my favorite, and Nebraska is one of my favorites.
Oh man!
I mean, we talked about Sideways, but Nebraska is one of the great, Alexander Payne movies, which is also like, the visual language was very clear from the first moment I read the script, and
it's heartbreaking too, because the scammers are out everywhere now. So it's like everybody, like my parents' generation didn't grow up with like constantly being lied to.
Even myself, I mean, I keep sending things to my wife. I go, is that scam? She goes, yeah. Oh, okay.
It's
anyway,
a whole
they're
economy.
getting pretty good at it.
Dude, it's wild. It's scary. Thank you so much for spending your time, man.
My pleasure.
It's the best.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it.
We'll do it again. And
hell yeah.
Yeah. We'll get Wally in, and somebody else.
You gotta let me know.
I got lots of crazy friends.
You gotta let me know when you guys do your show, because I'm gonna be there, because that's hilarious. I don't think my ribs hurt when I left that day. I was dying.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. Appreciate you.
Thank you.